Fans, welcome to another edition of the New Jersey Titans Coaches Corner. I'm your host, Tom Willms, and I have with me again the GM and head coach of your New Jersey Titans, Craig Doremus. Craig, thanks for taking the time today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Coming off a split up in Attleboro, Massachusetts against the Northeast Generals really proves the parity of this division. Coming into the weekend, not a ton of to really play for in the standings. Third place was just about locked up. But how would you assess the weekend's performance as a whole?
I was actually pretty happy with the team and their performance. I thought the work ethic and intensity was there. Commitment to playing away from the puck and on the defensive side of it, I thought was there. It was good. We got some new faces in the lineup and give some guys some opportunities to evaluate them in a game setting. Obviously, we wanted to make sure we came away there with at least 2 points, and we did so. So I thought there was a lot of good to take from the weekend and going into the week break now before the playoffs start.
Well, you mentioned it previously, and you just mentioned it now, that this is kind of a year-round endeavor. Not only are you looking towards the playoffs, but you're looking to the future. And again, you had a number of new names and faces in the lineup. Colin Grable, Jake Pusker, Eric Charpentier, Justin Dickinson, Cam Carroll getting the start. In general, just talking about the rookies, how do you feel they did on the big stage of the NAHL?
I thought all the guys represented themselves very well. I thought their commitment to buying into what we were doing as a team tactically was there. Obviously, none of those guys had any experience playing at this level. And some at times, I think we were all sitting there waiting for it to show, but I don't think it ever did. I thought they did a really good job of composing themselves and playing within our structure and our system. And I thought they were able to make plays, and you could see their ability and natural skill and instinct shine through as well, especially when they had the puck. So we were really pleased with all of them. Never an easy situation there, despite what the temperature of the game is or what it means in the standings. Not easy to go and make your debut in the regular season with a ton of pressure and surrounded by a ton of veterans as well. So I thought all the guys really, really did well and represented themselves well in front of our staff and made a good first impression in terms of us evaluating them both for the short and long term and their futures with the New Jersey Titans. Couldn't be more proud of those guys. And I think the guys really responded well to them as well. They seemed to be a breath of fresh air, and I think the guys were invigorated by playing with some of those guys, and they responded really well.
Now, I talked to a number of players throughout the season, asking them what the difference between going from whatever it's 16U, 18U to the NA is. Now, as a coach, you've also coached at those levels. What do you feel is the biggest difference between going from 16U, 18U to the NAHL?
I think the obvious is the size and the strength of the players. Older guys, 19 and 20-year-olds, a little bit more mature in their bodies and the way they prepare themselves for the game. So I think the time and space of the game is probably somewhat differently, both from an offensive standpoint, finding it, and then defensively having to take it away, because that's a big difference in it there. And I think the physicality and the detail in all three zones, and as you kind of get up the ladder of development, no matter what level you're going from to, the players are better, the game is faster, the details are more important. So, and I think the competition is better. The guy across from you in a sweater, in a different sweater, is a better player than maybe you would have faced at other levels. So I just think it's a combination of all those different factors that go into it, and your ability to read and react and process the game a little bit quicker is probably what gives you a chance to make those adjustments and get your game back on par in terms of where you have to be at the junior level as opposed to one of the minor hockey league levels.
Now, we talked about the veterans. You mentioned about how they welcome those guys in. It's kind of that breath of fresh air. But fine performances from the veterans as well. Evan Werner, Jake Swade, and yet another star of the week for here in the East Division. Nick Seitz, the Princeton star, picked up goal and 4 assists in the 2 games against the Generals. This seems to be a group that you can just count on for at least a goal a game. Some great production from these guys.
Yeah, I think the veterans have stepped up and really established themselves here as the games have gotten bigger. You see the guys digging in a little bit and putting their flag in the dirt here, and they stepped up. Jake Swader was huge for us all weekend, responded with a number of big goals and important points there in critical games. And like you said, Seitz, he gets back on track there. Evans responded well since returning from an injury, and I think his game's just coming and getting better and better. And now, our guys have done a really good job of weathering the load. And I think also what's intriguing about our team is the depth in the scoring. We finished near the top of the league in terms of production offensively, but it wasn't just 1 or 2 guys steering the ship. I think there was contributions up and down the forward and defensive group, and that what makes us dangerous now going into the playoffs is that we're not an easy team to match up with in terms of depth and line matching.
Now, this weekend, no games. We wait for the end of the regular season, as everyone else still has some games left, it seems. One thing we don't have to wait around for is the Titans playoff opponent. In the first round, it's going to be the Maine Nordiques. They're done with the regular season as well, so you can't scout them. So what do you do this week? Do you go through archives on Hockey TV? Do you take a look at them? Do you take a look at the games you've already played against them? Kind of take a look at those kind of things and kind of tweak your game, take a look at their game, maybe look for a new wrinkle?
A little bit of both. Do some player development with our guys and working on some stuff that we want to make sure we improve on. Even away from just the tactics and matchups in terms of the main specific stuff. So take advantage of that. Obviously start doing our homework into those guys and what we expect. I think, obviously this year with the division and the way it worked out, we played them a lot. And I'm sure they'll have, they'll be sharp in their preparation as well as we will be. So just watching some video, gathering some data on that and their players and becoming more familiar with them as an opponent. Strictly concentrating on them, and then just getting some guys, how it is, long year, guys get nicked up and giving some guys some time to recuperate physically and mentally as well. I think that's important here. It's been a long year and the guys have really been focused and sharp on considering where we started from to where we are now, just digging out of that hole to make the playoffs and make a push there. So I think that's been a load off their shoulders now that we're finally here, in terms of securing that position. And this week, a little bit different. Obviously, when you're coaching these guys, they look forward to those games every Friday and Saturday. So without those this weekend, good chance for them to catch their breath and recuperate a little bit as well. And then we'll go into preparations next week.
Speaking of video and preparation, we've talked about one of your assistants, Bobby DeRico, in past shows, but one of your other assistants, Kyle Shapiro, he plays a real key role on the staff, breaks down videos, and sometimes it's in real time. Is it a big tool, especially mid-game, to be able to get that information and have it broken down for you so you can relay that information and how to adjust during a mid-game situation?
For sure. I think it's super critical. And I think for us, it's been a big part of our success over the last 18 months is having that information down to the bench live and being able to correct mistakes and make adjustments both shift to shift and then after each period. So very similar to what they're doing at the National Hockey League level in terms of the corrections, the adjustments, and making them real time. And it's something that we've actually been utilizing a lot during practice as well so that we can review reps right away with the guys. And Kyle does a ton of teaching during those sequences and addresses a lot of mistakes that maybe you'd have to wait till afterwards to correct and go over. And I think in terms of communicating with this generation nowadays, they're such visual in terms of their learning ability that being able to give them information real time and show it to them, I just think enhances and elevates their learning curve.
Now, as far as the players are concerned, what has this week been like? Again, no games this weekend. How has your preparation been this week? And then you're going to head into next week. So how have you kind of gone through it this week?
It's been good. It's been detailed and intense in terms of where we are mentally and trying to focus on some details and stuff we want to achieve as a hockey team, not so much against them, just for our own game and where we want to be. I think a little bit of, like I said, a deep breath in terms of we're here now. For the guys who have been here for multiple years, we've been waiting to get back here. Obviously last year losing the playoffs and not having that, it's been a long time coming for playoff hockey to return to Middletown and the Titans organization. So I think that's been cool. And for us, again, guys, taking advantage of the facility here and using the rehab and recovery machines and stuff like that and getting their work in every day to make sure they're as fresh as they can become playoff time. Knock on wood. We've been pretty fortunate to avoid some of that stuff this year. We've had our share of nicks and knacks, but I think having the facilities that we have here has helped us and enhanced our ability to keep guys ready to play and practice every day and ready to play in games for the most part. So again, just taking advantage of those things here and it's fun to sit back and watch for a weekend here and again take a deep breath and reset our minds and our bodies as we go to Maine next week and then get ready for what we hope will be a really long sustained playoff push here and hopefully culminating with a trip to Minnesota in the not too far future.
Well, fans, keep an eye out on NJTitansNAHL.com, NAHL.com, and all the team's social media for the upcoming playoff schedule. We have a general idea what it is. Can't quite release it yet. So again, keep an eye out on all of that. Next week on the Coach's Show, we're going to preview the series against the Maine Nordiques. As again, that's scheduled to get started next week. Craig, thanks so much for taking the time and have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks, Tommy. I appreciate you having me.
Well, there goes another edition of the New Jersey Titans Coach's Corner. I'm your host, Tom Willms, and we will see you real soon.